Is it possible for anyone listening to become a millionaire in your mind? Is it possible for anyone to become a millionaire? And if so, what would they need to have the first three things in mind in order to work towards becoming that?
Yes. So first of all, yes, I do think that it's possible for anyone. And if there really truly is somebody because of their environment or systemic conditions that they're living in that they can't, then that's our responsibility for the rest of us to do it so that we can help lift that person up, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of how I see it. So I think we should just assume that we can.
What if all the excuses in the world, though, of like, my parents won't let me do this, where I grew up, or this or that, I don't have the education, you still think it's possible?
Yes, and you can find examples of millionaires in every circumstance. I myself grew up low income, like my parents were drug addicts and alcoholics at different points in their lives. Like there was on paper, I was not a potential success story, right? And I could let that stop me, or I could just say, that's just part of my story. It doesn't mean anything. In fact, I think it's actually propelled me. I think sometimes when you are at a disadvantage, you are in a better position. And if you think about people who are systemically and historically marginalized, you have an opportunity and a perspective to serve a segment of the market that's probably underserved right now, if you are a marginalized person, you know? So I think that there is a wealth of opportunity, and we have tools now. Like, it's a miracle that we have the internet, right? That's how I was able to do it. So right. I think it is within reach, and I think we have to believe it. I mean, that's the first thing, is you have to believe it's possible. And I think the way that you get to start believing that is possible is surround yourself with other people who also believe, right? Like, be in an environment like listening to a podcast like this, or reading books, or joining communities where you could be surrounded with people who believe. Because there's any number of naysayers in the world who will tell you it's not practical, it's not possible. So you have to surround yourself with people who believe and who are doing it, who are working towards it. I think that's the first thing.
Okay.
I think the second thing is we have to really get clear on the way that we add value. I think we are so talented, and we think that we're not. Forget about what the world says. Forget about what your last boss said about you. Forget about what degrees you do or don't have, right? Like, really think about your natural talents. Like, every single one of us is born with natural talents and skill sets and a perspective that other people don't have. And the problem is we undervalue it. We think everybody can do what we do. Everybody can't do what I do, right? Like, everybody can't rock this hair. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so we have to get in touch with what are our talents. And the way that we do that is look back at, like, when you were a kid, right? Like, what were the things that people came to you for, or you were just naturally did? Like, I used to get in trouble all the time for talking too much. And now I get paid to talk.
Yes.
You know? So I think that we can look back and see, and it doesn't even have to be like, sometimes people think, oh, you got to be a big personality. No, you don't. Like, we all have talents. So we have to tap into that and really think about, what is the value that I have to bring? I think personality tests can help with that, just to start to give you an inkling towards, become a student of yourself. Who am I? Right? What do I have to bring to the world? What is my perspective? How does my growing up with a parent who struggled with alcoholism at one point in their lives, how's that benefit me?
Yes.
And make me relate to more people, and make, me more able to become a millionaire rather than less. So I think recognizing our value is also a big piece of it. So we had mindset, we have value. I talked a little bit about environment. And then, you know what? Like, I think for the last one, I'm gonna just say charge accordingly. Like, just start asking for more money, right? Like, just be audacious with your requests. Like, just ask. So I think, it's one of the simplest things we can do is like, oh, you want to pick my brain? Let me charge for that.
Right.
Or, put an offer out, right? Offer to tutor your neighbors, or offer to whatever that skill is that you feel that you have. Try to sell it and see what happens. See if anybody wants to buy it.
Absolutely.
And
the more valuable you become, and the more people want your talent and your skills, you can start to charge more.
Exactly.
Accordingly. Maybe when you start out, you need to charge in a certain way, but as you grow, you can really start to charge premium levels.
Yes.
What if someone's listening and or watching, they're in their mid to late 20s, and they haven't really figured out what they want to do with their career or their business aspect of their life yet?
Yes.
What would you suggest in terms of the fastest path to making millions? The fastest path to being a millionaire based on their skills? How can they assess their skills? What would that industry be? What would that lane be? Is that a career? Is that investing in something? Is that earning as a solo entrepreneur to an entrepreneur, what lane should they take or think of?
Yes.
What are kind of these 3 different lanes you would suggest?
So I don't believe that we should choose our path based on like what industry is hot right now. You know, I think what's going to make you the most money the fastest is the thing that you're willing to consistently do. And that's usually connected to something that we actually care about and are interested enough in.
Right.
So I think sometimes we're like, oh, this is hot, or this is a hot idea, we should jump on that. And it's like, you could, and I'm not saying that that won't work, but I think the way that I've been most consistent is if I'm doing the kind of work that I enjoy, that I believe in, where I feel like I'm making a difference, and where I'm having fun. So finding that thing that you're willing to do for 10 years, and sometimes you don't know, right? Like, when I graduated from law school, I started a law practice because I knew I didn't want any of these other jobs that I was being offered at these firms or at nonprofits. And I was just like, you know what, I'm going to go do my own thing. And I started my own practice. And law wasn't it for me. That wasn't my thing. But through doing that, I discovered that I really love running a business and I'm actually good at it.
Right.
And so that I would have never gotten to that. So I think there's advice by Denzel Washington. You know, they asked him, like, what would you advise young actors? And he says,
you only live once, so do what you feel passionate about. Take chances professionally. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test, was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. So don't be afraid to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream big. But remember, dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. So have dreams, but have goals. Life goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, daily goals. And understand that to achieve these goals, you must apply discipline and consistency. Without commitment, you'll never start, but more importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish. It's not easy. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. So keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. See you at work. And it's not how much you have, it's what you do with what you have. We all have different talents. Some of you will be doctors, some lawyers, some scientists, some educators, some nurses. Don't just aspire to make a living. Aspire to make a difference.
Right, just get out there and do it. And so I think that's what you have to do, is just pick something and do. And through that, you're going to learn what you do like, what you don't like, what you're drawn to. You're also going to get a perspective that's going to show you opportunities. So I think sometimes we just have to get out there, get into something, right? Start doing something and just getting information from that and seeing, and go where you're drawn. I think our instincts are so powerful. We collect too much information, too many advisors, too much content, right? So I think sometimes we just have to follow our instincts. Where do we feel led?
Do it
and see what happens. It doesn't have to be permanent.
Right.
Just gather some information from it and see what's next.